Hello everyone and welcome to the Dice Commando YouTube channel. I'm Andrew with you here as always. This is the Commando Chat, a no-holds-barred, anything-goes videocast about everything and anything gaming related. This video and others like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. Please show your support with a like and subscribe, and be sure to hit the bell notification icon so you don't miss any new videos. If you want to get involved with the channel, consider becoming a channel member. There are many benefits to channel membership, including access to our Discord, exclusive deck tech and strategy videos, and the opportunity to help create channel content. I want to sincerely thank all our channel members, as I truly couldn't do this without your support. You guys rock. Go Commando. Hello everyone, welcome to Dice Commando channel and the Commando Chat. This is Andrew with you here as always. I'm here with my long-time drinking buddy and good friend, Jeff. How are you doing, Jeff?
Hey, doing great. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, so we are here today to talk Dungeons & Dragons and Jeff's new creation. Hey guys, welcome back. Thank you very much for taking time out of your day to join us. Jeff, how's it going, man?
It's going good. It's going real good, actually. Getting in a lot of games online. Transitioned pretty seamlessly over from the local game store where we used to meet up to doing the best that we can right now. But we're still getting together, still playing good games and having good times.
Yeah, so that's actually one of the questions I want to ask you a little later is how, I'm not a role player much as you well know, but a lot of our guys are, and that's one of the questions is how this has been going for role players during this. But first, just want to let everybody know this is not a paid advertisement. Jeff's a long-term friend of mine from embarrassingly long ago because we're old men now.
Right.
But Jeff's been a gamer
when you're measuring in decades.
Yeah, we've
when you're measuring in decades, it goes back a while.
We knew each other both when there was a 1 in front of our age at some point. So, yeah. But you've been a gamer for a long time. What's your gaming background primarily?
Yeah, so back whenever you and I were in the same city, back before we weren't, it was a lot of board games, a lot of games where it was just your classic strategy games, your resource allocation games, things of that nature.
So
I
Monopoly,
actually am a
right?
pretty recent convert. Yeah, Monopoly. Yeah, about an hour's worth, and then somebody tosses the table. No, I'm actually a recent convert to the role playing games, which is kind of what I've gotten into recently here. Now that we're back in the same city, so.
Yeah, which has certainly been nice. So yeah, I mean, most of the guys on the channel know me from a CCG background and so a little bit of online stuff, but I've never been a huge role player. So for those who are maybe watching who aren't, can you kind of run people through?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think everybody, if you're here, I think everybody has a pretty good idea like what D&D is, or at least that it exists. But like, can you give us a rundown more of kind of like modern D&D? Because I kind of feel like it's kind of had a resurgence in the last couple years.
Yeah, so saying that I'm like a new convert, right? It almost has kind of a connotations that I'm like the Johnny Come Lately bandwagon. It's been resurging. People have been getting into the game, but it's actually it's really great because it has opened up with Dungeons and Dragons, which is what I've been mainly playing. They came out with a new iteration, a new 5e a few years back now. Actually, it's a couple years back now. But what they did is they basically streamlined the rules. There's still like really good tactical mechanics involved. So those of you who play the card games, there's a lot of strategy behind it. There's a lot of thought that goes into it, a lot of planning. The same thing goes into it. So you may build a deck that is a particularly strong, aggressive deck. Same thing for your characters. If you're building a RPG character, you might want somebody who's a really strong, aggressive character type. You may have somebody instead who's more of a supportive type, or somebody who really is kind of like commanding the battlefield and trying to effectively like control the terrain, how quickly people can move, where people are stuck, things of that nature. So there's still a lot of tactical options involved. But what it does is it just opens it up a little bit more freely for people to come in who are new and not get bogged down so much in trying to perfect their character, trying to win the game. More of it's involved with just allowing you to come in, kind of learn as you go, and really kind of enjoy the fun of why we all get together and enjoy playing these really, really fun, adventurous stories.
So you said something interesting there. Actually, you just said win the
Yep.
game. I guess my
Yeah.
impression of D&D was that there wasn't winning D&D.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, winning is when the whole table wins.
Right.
So when every player has a moment of a heroic opportunity, a moment to shine with their particular skill set. Maybe it's offensive, maybe it's healing, right? Maybe it's defensive. Maybe it's a social encounter that they just happen to get the right information that they need from the key contact. So those sorts of opportunities, everybody at the table should have at least a well-run game. They should have an opportunity to really shine with whatever it is that their character is that they developed. Sometimes there's that kind of adversarial connotations. You'd have a DM who's throwing a dungeon master, the person who's kind of describing the world, and there's a lot that can be thrown at players. A lot of really scary monsters, a lot of really big tough guys, and it is the DM's role to challenge the players, but their job isn't, or in fact, their goal isn't to basically create a total party kill, a TPK where all the players die, right? You want them to have a challenging experience, but then come out the other side victorious and feeling like they've actually gained something in that process, not like, oh, we just, knocked over a bunch of orcs and now we're going to go back to the tavern, right? You want it to be a challenging experience. So the idea is that you don't want to try to create a character to win the game. Sometimes people have more or less of an approach of what's called min-maxing, where they want to design a character that is only based on stats, or at least primarily based on stats, where you want to like maximize the things that you're really good at, and then you just have what they call dump stats. So maybe you're really strong, but you're dumb as
I
bricks.
see. I see.
Well, yeah. So that can serve really well in combat encounters, but maybe not so well in kind of the well-rounded sort of an adventure that you're going to encounter or going to go on.
So does that? So again, to this is if it's a stupid question, my apologies. If you min max, say Conan the Barbarian, right? But
Yeah.
then you min max your, I don't know, wizard. Can those two
hmm
in the same party then? Is it the same as if they had averaged out all of the skills, or does maxing
Right.
each one of those actually still help the team overall?
Yeah. So it's min-maxing is a term sometimes used derogatorily. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just there's a spectrum. So how extreme of a character do you want, and where is that going to fall into the total party balance? So if you have, let's say you have four player characters, PCs, and you've got your wizard who's incredibly smart but pretty weak. You've got your barbarian or what have you, Conan, that's really strong but pretty dumb. You maybe have somebody who's really charismatic. The problem is, anytime you get involved in a situation, you're going to have people who are obviously, oh well, of course, John's going to step up here because he's playing Conan the Barbarian today, and we just take a back seat. Somewhere in that mix is that you have strengths, you play to those strengths, but you have more of a story to tell than simply, oh, well, this is a combat, so I'm going to step forward. Or, oh, well, we're in a tavern now, so Jim's going to step forward and do the social interactions. You want a good balance. And I think that's where kind of there's a sweet spot
I
there, and
see.
it's really hard to find,
I see.
but somewhere in there.
I see. So that's you kind of had a lead in, and before my dumb question, you kind of had a lead in on being a DM and the challenge being
Yeah.
to the DM's job is to make the game experience, not to make the game. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah. Yeah, so a good kind of separation of roles and responsibilities is that the players are in total control, total agency over their character. The DM should never really step in and say your character feels this or your character thinks that. That's not their role. That's the player's role to kind of determine the nature of that character. On the DM side, they basically have everything else. So it's the entire world, all the NPCs, which is a non-player character. So you meet, the barkeep at the tavern. That's somebody that the DM's going to play. Maybe that person has a favorable attitude towards your party, or maybe not. All of that's at the DM's discretion. But the idea is the DM wants to create a world that is engaging, that is exciting, and in return, the players play characters that are they're adventurous. They're risk taking in a way, right? They go out and they're seeking that sort of encounter that creates a good story.
I see. So to that end, have there been any? I mean, I assume. Well, let me ask question one first, then I'll follow up with this question. So
Sure.
question one then would be, how has COVID and social distancing and the online environment and all that, has it hurt? I mean, obviously it hurts face to face. Like that's a given. That's not what I'm asking here, right? But has that hurt overall the gaming experience, or have you guys been able to port over to the online medium? I mean, I know it's sort of a generic question, but
No, it's a good one, and it's tough to answer in a way because it depends a lot about the makeup of the crew, the makeup of the party, right? So we were able to transition, and I can't imagine this would have even been possible definitely if not 4 or 5 years ago. But we've been able to transition over to a VTT, which is a virtual tabletop. So there's a lot of platforms out there. We happen to use Roll20.
tabletop simulator, I assume,
and
is
it
out
allows
there.
you to basically. Yes, yeah. So there's a lot of different ways to make this happen. They have the voiceover. You can do video. Sometimes that slows down bandwidth, so you have to forego that sometimes, which again takes just even that one step more removed from that social interaction that you get from the games. But what you can do is oftentimes you think of role-playing games, you think of like the grid, and you've got your little minis moving around the grid. You can do that now online. You've got platforms where you can bring in the map. You can put your little token character down on the map. You can move it around. They're little monster token characters. They move around. So if you're doing a grid-based battle, not theater of the mind, if you're used to that, which a lot of people are, the technology now is there, and it allows you to do it pretty seamlessly. There's a little bit of a learning curve because now you've got 4 or 5 different tabs open that you're running at once. Maybe you're using the audio over Discord channel. You're using Roll20 for the visuals, and then you've got your D&D Beyond or some other system up for your character sheet, right? So now you're flipping back and forth a little bit. It kind of interrupts the flow of the game a bit more than you might hope, but at the very least, you can still play. You can still get immersed in the story, which is good.
I mean, I know several people who've kicked off D&D games, or I should say RPG games, during this lockdown, and there's no reason to believe that'll stop, considering there's no end to this in the current state, right? So,
right, yeah. Well, and the curve, the technology curve, is there for any board game you want to play, right? So, any gamers out there will have to figure out a solution. There's no bigger hindrance to the RPG world than there is anywhere else, really. And then the other thing is that RPG games, they are really good because you get that social interaction. You've got a table of 8 or 9 people, well, not 8 or 9, hopefully not, but like 4, 5, 6 people that can all get together on a regular basis. It's a break from a step away from the day's work, whether that's the office job, or whether that's going into some place, essential workers or otherwise, or if it's taking care of your children, right? It's a way to step away from that and have that break, which when you're stuck in your house, everybody needs right now.
yeah, I mean that's completely fair. Yeah. Okay, well then let's get into the subject of today, then, if you will. So, what have you created for the community?
Yeah, so it's interesting because I'm fairly new when you think about the long history of RPG games. About 2 years ago, a year and a half ago or so, I got involved with one of the local gaming stores that I started going to. Picked up a couple games there. Ended up having kind of a solid crew that I kept up with, and been playing for a while. one of the DM, I'd been a player. The DM had, he's running a couple of different games. His work was picking up, taking up some slack with some other things going on with the economy, etc. And so he needed to take a step back. D&D is coming out with a new hardback soon, the Icewind Dale campaign. And so we talked about us switching roles. At the same time, I was thinking about getting into the DM world anyways, and thinking about writing these really cool stories and kind of like seeding these opportunities to spotlight characters, to spotlight the players and give them an opportunity to shine. I got involved with a course in July. It was the RPG Writers Workshop. It was the Write Their First Adventure, and aptly named, I wrote my first adventure. It's kind of an intro. I basically served it as kind of a testing ground for me as I was preparing for the Icewind Dale campaign. So the book's not coming out till September, so there's not a lot known about it, but we do know kind of the setting, the Arctic, terrain that's going to be encountered. And so using what little information we did know, I kind of formulated a one-shot. It's about 3 to 4 hours for a average party level, or APL, 1 through 6. So this is low-level characters, and specifically it's written for a real introductory opportunity. So if you have a brand new character fresh off the character sheet that you wanted to test out, maybe it's a character idea, a different combination of race or class, something that you haven't been used to or haven't played before, and you want to, am I going to like it? This is an opportunity to kind of test out the terrain, the thematic elements. It's a bit of a horror or isolationist theme to the upcoming campaign. And so a lot of that's it's seeded in with this adventure that I wrote called Dropping Below Zero. It's this idea of kind of an opportunity to either have not a session zero, because that has a different connotation, but kind of a intro session before the hardback actually comes out and you start playing it, just to kind of get everybody warmed up to the idea.
Interesting. Okay, so what I'm showing now, I've already shown at this point the cover, and I'll show the back at some point. But what I'm showing up right now is one of the maps. It's just one of the ones I picked through, not knowing anything about it. It's the one of the caravan going down the side of the river with your grid over top.
Yeah.
It's just a straight up. Would you call it an introductory campaign, or?
Yeah, so the idea is it's a one-shot. So you could, in theory, have this, like I did last night, actually. In fact, with a couple of our old college buddies. Last night I got together with 3 guys who, one of which is here in town. The other 2 I haven't seen since one of their weddings, 8 or 10 years ago, just because we're all over the country now. But we got together. They're guys I don't normally play with, and we don't really have any intention of playing, at least in those characters that they played. We don't really have intentions of playing with them again. But it was an opportunity for everyone to get together, run through a start to finish storyline. There's a whole arc involved. There's the 3 pillars of RPG games. So there's a lot of seeded social encounters. There are specific NPCs fleshed out, so non-player characters fleshed out within the actual module, so the DM can actually have something to kind of base their tone of voice and the mannerisms of the characters out of, right? So the players get to engage with those. So there's your social encounters opportunities there. You've got some exploration encounters, whether you're kind of like making your way through the river scenario or making your way through a copse of trees that you're trying to track a trail through or what have you. You've got the exploration, and then of course every RPG game, it serves well to have at least a combat encounter or 2, and those are seated in there as well.
Nice. So, just an aside, I had to laugh when you told me who was playing, because I started doing the math on it, and like you guys kind of make your own little war party band if you think about it, right? We have the philosopher, we have the doctor, we have the priest, and we have the businessman. So.
Yeah, we gave him a hard time about playing a cleric, and then he ended up showing up as a wizard. So I mean, it worked out well.
Well, we'll leave the religious jokes aside there, but cleric wizard, all right, fair enough.
Yeah.
No, so that's cool. So what's interesting? So you write the campaign, but you still very much need a DM to execute it, right? So it's not like a open the book and play by the rules type of deal, right?
That's right. Yeah. So anybody. So if you have anybody who is interested in playing an RPG, you have a group of friends, maybe you have never played it before. There are better ways to start than this one. D&D has the essential kits. They've got the starter kit. Both of those kind of let you warm up if you've never been a DM before. That said, if you've ever played before, if you've got a group of players and just your DM is out one day or with work or otherwise, this is something that you could pick up and just literally one of you says, okay, I drew the short straw or I drew the good straw in my case because I actually really enjoy it. But they say, I'm going to be the DM today. They could pick this up and 15 minutes of reading beforehand, and they could run it. It's pretty much all set for you, one page after the other, and one step at a time. It's pretty well laid out, so people could have a good adventure on any given night.
Okay, so I think the last question I have for you is just based on what you just said. So you said if somebody was getting into it, there are easier ways to get into it. Um, but going out and buying like a starter kit seems like a way to be with a
Yeah.
starter party. And is that the way that you would recommend people to get in, or should they just go find an established group and just muddle their way through?
Yeah, so it really depends. I mean, in this day and age, you're going to be able to find. I mean, this day and age meaning the COVID reality that we're all living
Oh,
through.
that's
You
a
could
fair
definitely find.
clarification. Actually, fair clarification.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you can still find online groups. Adventure League, which is what quote unquote organized play, it is put on by Wizards of the Coast, which is owns D&D. They have those opportunities for you can drop in, pretty no mess sort of situations where you can just show up, and the DM, who is basically a freelancer for D&D, they'll have a character sheet for you. You want to play a rogue, they'll hand you a rogue sheet. You want to play a barbarian, they'll hand you a barbarian sheet. And that's a good way to kind of get warmed up to it. That said, if you've got a family pod, or maybe you're podding with another family or two, close friends, etc., and the parents get together, or your friends get together, some evenings, then the essentials kit is what I'd recommend. It's a great opportunity. There's an entire story and adventure to take you through it, and honestly, you probably have about, I don't know, 20 hours worth of really good tabletop playing based on those kits. And then what you'll see in my adventure, it's published on DM's Guild, dmsguild.com, I believe. And there you're going to have everything available to you. The world is your oyster. You want to play something in an Arctic environment, you've got my module dropping below zero. You want to play something in a desert environment, or you want to play something in a hot jungle with dinosaurs. Whatever you want, you're going to be able to find it there because there's just so much variety, so many good authors out there that can really speak to whatever it is, whatever mood your group, your party wants to play. Most of them are set up where you can literally pick them up and 30 minutes prep time, not even that really. I mean, 15 minutes just kind of skim through it, and then as it plays, the dirty secret of DMing is you just let your players talk. You let your players plan, and that lets you give a moment or two to think about what happens next. And as they're planning, you may think of various options of what's going to occur, and then when they make their decision, you're ready. You're prepared. So yeah, it's the world's your oyster in terms of different adventures you could play, given what's available out there.
Well, cool. Well, that's something I've never really forayed
Yeah,
into, but I know a lot of people are very big on it. And like I said, with the resurgence that we're seeing, I think it's reasonable to assume that it's going to continue to grow, right? Because the world we live in,
yeah,
popularity breeds popularity, right? So,
yeah, definitely. And with 5e, I mean, there are more and more people who are getting into it, more and more people who are interested in it, and then that just again that widens that lens. I got into it a year and a half ago, and now I have a published module out there for other people to enjoy, and that means there's more creativity, more ideas coming out there. It's a really great community
cool.
so far.
Well, I mean, we've been here for what, 20-ish, wow, a long time. So let's go ahead and wrap this up. Did you have any closing stuff you wanted to mention, aka discount codes and all that?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah. So I don't know exactly how you're going to get it set up, but there's a link that Andrew will provide for you all, give you 25% off this particular adventure. You can search for it on DMSGuild under the title Dropping Below Zero, or the link will actually take you straight there and automatically apply that 25% off. You can also reach out to me if you're interested in either getting into DMing, which is a great adventure for anybody, or just generally interested in playing. You can get me at Twitter at Rogue Non Grata, on Facebook as well, Rogue Non Grata on
Oh,
Facebook. So
that's cool. Wow, that's throwing your name out there. You can get all sorts of questions. You're a brave,
yeah,
brave man.
sure, yeah. Hey, I love talking this stuff. This is really exciting for me. I love the stories, how they interconnect. I love the various permutations and options that can just occur live at the table. It's so cool to see how a story can develop. So I love
Well,
talking about
awesome.
this
Well,
stuff.
I want to, thank you for joining me. Both Jeff and I had to wait until the kids went to bed. So thanks for joining me late at night. Did you have
Absolutely.
anything else you wanted to add before we sign off and get out of here?
No, just a big thank you for everything you're doing for the gaming community. This is a great opportunity to stay
Yeah,
connected with
awesome.
everybody.
Well, thanks very much, Jeff, for joining me. And if nothing else, Jeff joined me. Go Commando. Say it, Jeff. There we go.
Go
Thank you.
Commando.